A common way of bonding with a stranger is by asking what their favorite something is. Movie, food, animal, all seem simple enough. If the friendship grows, the questions become finer and eventually complicated. What is your favorite game? Well, what if you play multiple styles of games? What is your favorite genre? Well, what if you're a moody person and sometimes you favor a puzzle over a fighting game? When this happens, what is your favorite whatever is no longer a fun question. I like Michael Jordan's response to who is the best basketball player of all time. To paraphrase, it's unfair to compare two different eras. A more meaningful question is who had the greatest impact during their time. And that makes sense because favorites and bests come and go, but only a few are set in stone. In this situation, a more appropriate question could be who is your Mount Rushmore of whatever? And this is where things can get interesting again because the question isn't asking what are your top four favorites. It's asking who was your first, who was always there from the beginning, who has remained a constant, and who freed you from a traditional bias. I discovered the power of the guitar really early. First thing I learned was the intro to Under the Bridge. That gave me all the confidence to attempt anything. At the time, the radio would play music with actual guitar playing. I learned a bunch of Nirvana and top 40 whatevers, but everything changed when I heard that one song by Papa Roach. It was loud but tight, heavy, and tame. I quickly got into Linkin Park, and I really liked how clear his screams were. Tool was pretty cool too. Visually, they really captured my imagination. But everything changed again when I saw the video for Chop Suey. Their whole aesthetic was a life changer. A beautiful acoustic intro with the crowd staring off into the abyss, slowly creeping upwards as the drummer grooves along. The bass beginning to rumble, being played by the longest six-pack in the world. A great build into that one part where Darren plays above the nut with a cheesy-ass grin. And then, of course, this bright-ass yellow shirt with the ridiculous singer and this badass goatee. To this day, they are pretty original, I think. So imagine how incredible they were when their content was fresh. When I got their album, I knew there was something special in here for the sake of my chops and my psychological approach to the guitar. It was the first time I tuned a drop C, and it was about as low as I could go without adding meatballs and parmesan. But it was also the sweet spot for my shitty amp and metal zone. The first song was stupid, but not in a bad way. It was simple, but at the same time, damn near impossible to play perfectly, because those pinch harmonics seemed to have a mind of their own. By this point, I was only about a year into my guitar playing, so there were techniques I haven't even considered. Needles was amazing. First time I ever heard a gallop in all its chug glory. Deer Dance had me feeling drunk. Jet Pilot had me downpicking, and for the first time I considered only downpicking might be the most viable way to get that consistency down, sonically and physically. X taught me that I didn't need to multiply. In the album, Chop Suey starts like this. Suicide. A mumble and a suicide. And I couldn't figure it out for the life of me. Maroney Suicide? Like some dude named Maroney has a restaurant named Suicide? We're all in Suicide? Like there is a creature named Suicide and we're inside of him? Or we're all in suicide, like a philosopher who just discovered that guns don't kill people, but people do? When I found out what he was actually saying, we're rolling suicide, it still fucked with me. We're rolling suicide? Like a joint? Bounce was the track I always skipped. It wasn't a bad one. I guess any song after Chop Suey would be a hard one to follow. There was just something about the seriousness of the ending to the song. It was about angels deserving to die. And I can't hear the song without thinking of all the cool moments from the video. All of that plus they get all Jesus-y and start talking about fathers and being forsaken. There's some pretty deep shit going on. Then out of the blue, bounce, pogo, 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 pogo. Kinda cringe, really. Forest was the first time I played a power chord with my middle finger on the lower notes, giving that ethereal, foggy forest vibe, kinda like the woods in Chrono Trigger or Super Mario World. Atwa was damn beautiful. Nothing too special, but it got the most out of subtlety. The whole song was one riff played 4 different ways, with the exception of the outro. Science has failed our Mother Earth. Like, we didn't have a shotgun big enough to blow up a comet. Shimmy was like a less cringe bounce, and it was my first conscious playing of the harmonic minor scale. Toxicity had all the great elements, but the MVP here is that damn drummer. It's one of the first drum performances I remember memorizing. Psycho. Now I know this song isn't black metal, but it does have that ominous vibe for a moment. Like the foggy forest, but maybe more like dead woods in a cold, damp environment. Howling atmosphere for sure, and that solo that takes you to hell and leaves you there. Psycho is also the closest in vibe to the first record, another album worth studying. Ariel's was precise. It was like a double layered atwa. It was a fun song to play, and doing it to where every note rings clean took a bit of focus. But the most meaningful part of the song to me are the lyrics, standing the test of time for sure. As far as who influenced my guitar playing, they are on my Mount Rushmore. To be precise, they are my Washington. All their albums have their place, but this one was the first real album that gave meaning to my identity, and one that I can still play along from beginning to the end without missing too many notes. I might as well fill the rest of them. All I can say is the next one is not Metallica. Nah, it's Metallica.